XRP holders, I want to be very wealthy, like top 1%.
Of financial assets is going to be a multi-quadrillion dollar problem to solve.
So yeah, I already talked about tokenization for XRP and how important it is, and how owning real estate is getting more expensive, and why XRP entered tokenization, and why this might pump it to $20. So be sure to smash that like button, guys, if you haven't already. And tokenization is the next big thing in crypto, right? Literally, they're trying to tokenize stocks, real estate. You will try to own a fraction of an apartment, a fraction of a stock is the next big thing, because people want to see that for some time. They don't want to own maybe, the whole apartment. They just want to own 1/5 of it and use 1/5 of it and rent out 1/5 of it. And now they finally will be able to. That's what I like to see.
The blockchains that are able to solve this at scale will be the winners here. And the people that invest in those blockchains, it'll be our greatest opportunity to achieve wealth in human history. I want to go through some information today, kind of what's holding back tokenization, maybe a snap of the finger, a flip of the switch moment, what still needs to be done, how much value has already been tokenized onto blockchains, and how much is still to go. I have everything that you need to know in this video. Let's set this all up to really understand how big the problem is that we need to solve and what is it going to mean.
Yeah, so XRP right now, tokenization is a very time-consuming technology, so I don't think this will happen overnight. But over time, we could really see XRP grow in that. And that's what I've been telling you guys. This further supports my theory that XRP is not only doing transactions, it's doing other stuff as well, and it's entering tokenization. Why is BlackRock entering tokenization as well? Very simple reason. It sees a lot of money. They see potential in the future of digitalizing everything. And that's what XRP is trying to do as well.
Mean for us
that every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every bottle of fine wine, every collectible car,
that's what I'm telling
every piece
you guys.
of real estate,
that's why NFTs were exploded. It's like 1% of those NFTs.
Private business, everything of value in the world will eventually be a token. This adoption of technology, this evolution, it's not a revolution, it's an evolution of technology, that everything of value will be a token on a blockchain. Not a coin, not a thing. It's literally a line item on a public ledger. Everything of value will be that. And every transaction of value will happen in digital assets. You don't need the pieces of paper. Wipe out all of DTCC, which processes $1.8 quadrillion a year. That is a large number. That will all move to digital. And when it does, it will create massive wealth, the greatest wealth creation opportunity I'm going to see in my lifetime.
So yeah, digitalizing everything. They're trying to digitalize books, like how Amazon did it. Feel like this is going to be the next big thing that people are asking for.
Greatest wealth creation that he's going to see in his lifetime, that we are going to see in our lifetimes. All we need to do is be prepared. Pick the right blockchains. And then at that point, hope and pray everything works out like we hope it does. Also here, this is Clearbank, a potential Ripple partner who banks with Coinbase, Kraken FX, and Crypto.com, says a $2.2 quadrillion of equities, bonds, real estate, and derivatives will be tokenized.
And I know many of you heard me say this loads of times before, but the real world of equities, bonds, real estate, and the big daddy is derivatives, which I know Richard Barker at the back of the room was no doubt talk about the other day. It's 2.2 quadrillion. And we think that a big chunk of that 2.2 quadrillion over time will get digitized, tokenized, and therefore we would disagree with Gartners. We think that we're actually an inflection point, not a trough of disillusion.
What do you plan to do over the, say, next 30, 60?
Okay, this is Jack McDonald from Ripple. He's the SVP of stablecoins at RLUSD. And so I just want to make sure that you understand, because if they would have sat the right chairs, this would have been perfect. He would have been here. This guy would have been here, who is the moderator. And then Emma's here and this guy's here. But they switched chairs. So I was a bit confused when I saw this. I was like, wait, I just want to let you know.
And we try to stick to our lane. And obviously, we're going to seek approval to issue a stable coin. We're going to do that on the XRP ledger in addition to Ethereum. So excited about that.
So yeah, you guys, Ripple is not only trying to work with banks, it's trying to be its own bank. So that's just the first part. It's trying to tokenize stuff. It's trying to, basically they're trying to get meetings. They're trying to network. What's the number one important rule in finance world? Probably networking. So that is another thing they're doing. And that's what's really pumping it up, because they are trying to expand worldwide. Just like Amazon or McDonald's, started with one restaurant. They're trying to go to 5, 6, 10 of them.
Looking at banking partners, critical.
Listen, if you are a bank, right, and you're trying to work with a blockchain company, whatever your thoughts are of, Ripple and how they've done up to today, they are one of the leading teams out there that banks and institutions want to work with, because they come from this professional world that all of these other people do come from, right? They're not just kind of some bros hanging out in a house building, a meme coin. These are serious people.
These are basically multi-millionaires in one single room trying to build the future. It's very well said, but what's most important is they're not there to make fun and games. They're here to build something. And another thing is Ripple has been partnering for the last 13 years.
Going into serious meetings with central banks and the biggest banks in the world. So we take them extremely seriously. And then, of course, Chainlink is also going to be a part of this. And here's the CEO of Chainlink saying that they're trying to solve a multi-quadrillion-dollar problem. It's quadrillion.
I feel like everybody's trying to jump on the wagon, but only a few ones of them will survive.
Billions will be tokenized.
Quadrillion. That's right. That's what I'm talking about. This is what people need to understand. I'm not talking about another trillion. I'm talking about quadrillions.
All right. So I think we understand what the problem is that we're trying to solve here, and how much money could we possibly be talking about. Multiple quadrillions. I want to have Larry Fink kind of sum this up in 23 seconds, and then we're going to get into how much value has been tokenized so far. What are the key challenges holding back a flip of the switch moment or a big bang moment? I have everything that you need to know.
Specifically on Bitcoin, as I've said in the past, we're a believer in digitization of products. ETFs was a big revolution for the mutual fund industry, and it's really taking over the mutual fund industry. And we do believe that if we can create more tokenization of assets and securities, and that's what Bitcoin is, it could revolutionize again finance.
But they're not going to be using Bitcoin to do this, right? It would be too costly and too...
Yeah, so look at this. It's very slow. Dash is very slow. ETH is very slow. Then look at the XRP. It's a big line of transactions. So again, when you do these transactions, it's going to be thousands and thousands per second. If we're talking about world scale, right now it's maybe like 20, 30 for XRP per day, per second, probably even less than that. So maybe it's like 10 transactions a second, but it can handle much more than that, way more. Right? And that's what XRP is trying to prove. It can handle all these transactions for tokenization. So yeah, these are nice. These will get improved. I don't know about Bitcoin. I feel like Bitcoin is like the OG, It's going to be like a store of value.
Slow, and why would you, right? There's so many other great technologies. HBAR, you have the XRP ledger. You could use Chainlink to do a lot of this too. Ondo, right? Why would you go and use Bitcoin? You're just not going to. All right, let's dive into how much value.
Where Bitcoin wins, it's like first. So people buy Bitcoin as a store of value, as like the digital gold, but they're going to buy other coins for different type of utilities.
Has already been tokenized, and how much value still needs to come. We're also going to talk about how much value is going to be tokenized by, let's say, 5 years from now or 10 years from now. What are the projections that we're looking at, as well as what is keeping all of this from a flip of the switch moment or happening much more quickly. I'm going to break it all down for you. So let's go into this first. So how much value has been tokenized so far? The answer to that question is roughly
24 billion. But I feel like the community for tokenization is very small. Look at that.
1% of tokenized real estate already done. So we haven't even hit 0.5% or 1%. Bonds and government corporations.
Like this will never be tokenized to 100%, but the potential is sky high. The real issue is not how much you tokenize, is how many buyers you can get. How many buyers can Ripple get to these tokenized platforms? That's the question.
Bonds, 2 billion out of $130 trillion globally. We have 0.001% of that done. U.S. Treasuries and debt, 1 billion out of 34 trillion. That's 0.003%. Commodities are 1 billion. 13 trillion is gold alone. That is less than 0.01%. And all real world assets, 24 billion out of 1 quadrillion, all asset classes, 0.01, less than. So you can see that we haven't even reached, a tenth of a percent.
The issue is most people don't even know how to use crypto yet. So how will they, there's no regulation for tokenization yet. And it's probably going to take until 2030, 2035 until Ripple really starts to affect this. The good thing about Ripple is they have infinite money glitch, and they can literally do this for many years until they give up, or until they succeed. So that's the thing. 2035 could reach 4 trillion. I mean, yeah, but there's going to be tons of development. There's going to be tons of regulation. Right now, they're doing crypto regulation. I feel like next is going to be RWA, NFTs, things like that. It's going to be like 2040. So it's going to take time.
By 2035, for example, tokenized real estate alone could reach 4 trillion, still a small portion of 300 trillion in global real estate market assets, right? That's not even 2%. In 10 more years, that's not even 2%. That's not good enough. That is not acceptable, right? And so you start to look at this information of what are the, what's holding us back from a big bang, or what's holding us back from, a flip of the switch moment, as people like to say in the crypto market. And here we go. Global and regulatory complexity, asset ownership laws, securities regulations, and settlement requirements vary dramatically by jurisdiction. Many legal frameworks do not recognize blockchain-based asset records as valid proof of ownership or transfer.
That's the issue. Yeah, you buy like $20,000 of land on tokenization, people are going to laugh at you. So this is going to take some time to actually be resolved. But here's the good news.
The ownership to that person. That is what they're talking about here. The solution here is to get every country together, like the G20 and those type of groups, and come up with a set of rules and regulations that every country will implement. And that's how you get value to move across seamlessly. But right now, everyone's kind of doing their own thing. We're not really having this global conversation. I think that's going to hinder.
But you gotta just think about it like with Bitcoin. You think about it like this YouTube channel, Bitcoin, everything. If you want to be the first, you gotta start now. You don't start 5 years later. So that's the thing. You're early. You don't buy Ethereum or Bitcoin when it's already at $3 million, right? You start when it's very low prices. So that's the real thing, is you got to start at the right time. And that's why they're getting early into crypto.
Adoption going forward. Operational infrastructure, incompatible legacy systems, financial institutions, custodians, depositories, and exchanges each run on different, often decades old technology. Migrating all assets to tokenized systems would require coordination and upgrades across the entire financial system, not just blockchain adoption. Interoperability, multiple incompatible blockchains, and disparate standards present major barriers.
So yeah, once they open the market, should be much better. Like for their money, basically.
Reluctant to risk trillions in assets on new rails overnight without years of parallel testing and gradual migration. Now, if you take a look at like the DTCC's work and what governments have actually been working on, I'd say that we're a little bit further along than most people think on this part of it. But they're still going to take a lot of movement from regulators and asset managers alike to be working with government agencies to make sure that there's limited risk in bringing all this value.
I don't agree. I agree there's a lot of future in like buying your land on tokenized, and you can just buy it and get it, right? Without signing these contracts and stuff like that, just buying land online, as long as you don't know your customer, or buying an apartment, it's going to be much easier and faster. And buying it with crypto online would be awesome. The issue is I don't feel like we're close at all. Like Ripple is entering this because they're literally planning, like BlackRock entered this because they have so much money that they can afford to wait 15 years before this is actualized.
Not be safe anymore. And I think that's what could help move this a little bit more quickly than 10 or 20 years down the road. Now, when you listen to Raoul Pal, he will tell you in the next 8 years, he sees the crypto market going from 3 to 4 trillion to over 100 trillion. Listen closely.
Now, Raoul Pal, yeah, that would what I would like to see, because if it's 97 trillion coming to XRP, would be really awesome.
Asset class in all of human history, so you can catch up really fast. So you just have to get involved and start that journey, but it will level the playing field for millions of people. So my view is it goes from a $3 trillion asset class today to 100 trillion in 10 years' time. So we're only 3% of the way there. And if you put it in different terms, that means there is $97 trillion of wealth that's going to get made.
Yeah.
People are going to make a lot of money, but it's not a few people. It's not like the tech barons or the bankers. This is like, well, Binance has 260 million customers. Now, you could live 260 million people change their lives. Okay, that's a big deal. There's 500 million crypto accounts around the world. So you can change 500 million lives. And if you speak to CZ or you speak to the others, they'll say, we want to have 1 billion people, 2 billion people. Well, if you can change 2 billion people's lives, that's a quarter of the world. So it's a very, very big deal. And also it's a big deal because people are getting access to dollars. So the stablecoin thing, I asked CZ about this. I'm like, well, what about stablecoins? He said, I didn't see how big they were going to be. He didn't realize, and most of us didn't realize, how desperate people are to own US dollars.
Yeah.
And so before, to get access to dollars, you had to have access to a big bank, and or you could get a small amount of dollars. But normal people couldn't save in it. And somebody in Southeast Asia, they couldn't get access to dollars. And now suddenly they can get it on their Binance app immediately and send it to somebody else, US dollars. That's an incredible change for people. So
that is incredible change for.
Yeah, the thing I kind of agree with here, like sending US dollars, we're still very early with what stablecoins are. The issue is 100 trillion. Like we are just getting into 4, 5, 6 trillion. So 500 trillion in 10 years time, again, could be compound, but that is if everything goes right.
Markets in their countries if they want to stay relevant with their currencies. And then you have stuff like the DTCC, right? The DTCC has been working on tokenizing this value, these securities for quite some time. They've had a bunch of different trials. They've had a bunch of different acquisitions. And, you start to look at the interconnectedness of the DTCC and you realize that Ripple and Stellar are connected in big ways to this, as well as HBAR,
I feel like it's all more connected than we expect, especially for XRP. They know each other very well.
The great adoption, tokenization of financial assets onto blockchain. And they'll say that, hey, oh yeah, we voted for, the Genius Act.
So yeah, with Crypto Sensei, I have some experience in that. So I wouldn't fully agree that we are right there yet. I feel like it's going to take some time. And I feel like the first thing that's going to happen is probably the partnerships, the big partnerships we're talking about. Tokenization is really their long-term pet project. I could be totally wrong here, so someone knows in comments, but I feel pretty confident that the bank partnerships are going to be way sooner than tokenization. The tokenization is not the main thing yet, but there is a huge market for it if you can get the buyers, right? So there is interest, there are buyers, there is demand, but the time of development is going to take a while.
We have solved the problem of, yes, now it's legal to operate crypto. We don't have to, use VPNs in the back alley to trade it, but we're still at a very infant phase of the market.
So yeah, the market might take like 5-10 years to normalize. Guys, smash that like button. I love you all. If you want more content, be sure to check out my channel.